Hello, everyone. This is MMA Interesting Prospects podcast. Today, our guest is Christian Echols. Hello, Christian. How are you?
What's going on, man? I appreciate you having me on here.
And Christian, we can start from your biggest fight to date against Pat Downey, but let's start from your next fight because it will happen on Saturday. This is B2 Fighting Series 179, and your opponent is Chris Worth. So please tell me how was your training camp going for this fight?
Man, this training camp has just been full of focusing on my stand-up. The last fight, it was a lot of like, stay away from wrestling. If he does get you down, find your way to the top. It was mainly wrestling based for the Pat fight, but this one, I really kind of doubled down on my striking. Now that I kind of got my confidence back in my hand. So now that I see what I'm really capable of, I'm really trying to make everything crisp on the feet, so I can try to put a few more on my highlight reel. I'm getting Dana's attention.
Okay, so you are planning to knock your opponent out in a perfect scenario.
Yeah, in a perfect scenario, that's the game plan for this fight. But I do have a heavy wrestling base and heavy jiu-jitsu base. So, if the fight, I'm not sure if you've ever had an MMA fight, but when you get in there, man, it's just everything goes hectic for a second, and whatever your body does, it does. You don't really think; you just have to react. Everything's on the spot. So, in an ideal moment, though, I knock him out, but we'll see. I have to see how I react when I get in there.
And if you win or when you win, what's next for you? If you are planning to fight for the B2 title?
Either maybe so I just signed on with Iridium Management. My manager is Eric Anders. And he's in the UFC. He's got the blueprint of how to get there. So I'm really just kind of letting him steer me in whatever direction he thinks is the correct way. And so far, the way he's talking, everything's gonna go correct, and he's gonna help me out getting to the UFC. That's my biggest thing in life is if I fought for the UFC one time, like I've achieved the dream. Then from there, it's just like, how far can I go?
Okay, so few more wins, and then we can see you in the UFC.
Yeah, that's the game plan.
Okay, so it's great, and you are the most famous because of your Pat Downey fight.
Yeah.
He's a great wrestler, and I think that Bellator brought you to this fight just to be another win for him, like his first fight, and you won. So please tell me about this fight. How many weeks do you have to prepare for this fight?
For the Pat fight?
Yes.
So we got a call. I had watched Pat Downey wrestle before. Everybody watched him wrestle. If you did jiu-jitsu, you watched him wrestle Gordon Ryan and Nicky Rodriguez. So after watching those, I was like, dude, that guy's really good. Like, I would hate to be the guy that fights that guy. And I was sitting and training, and I was in there doing jiu-jitsu, and my phone, I got a message on Facebook. It kind of has like a different tone to the message. So I check it, and it says, would you like to fight for Bellator MMA? And I was like, yeah, I'd love to fight for Bellator. That'd be awesome. So my coach started talking to him, and he messaged me. He was like, dude, they want you to fight Pat Downey. And I was like, let's run it, I guess. Screw it. I kind of got the mentality like, I will fight anyone. I would prefer to pick smart fights, but I will throw down with just about anybody. But it was about, I'd say 4 weeks, or no, about 5 weeks I had to prepare for the fight. But yeah, man, it was just like, as soon as we heard Pat Downey, every bit of my training went straight to wrestling defense and getting back to the feet. And that paid off in the fight big time.
And what did you feel when he took you down?
Felt like I had the strongest dude that's ever put his hands on me had a hold of me. And I have, like I said, I have a wrestling base. I have really good wrestling. And when he grabbed a hold of me, I kicked my hips back at first, and I was like, okay, I might be able to stuff this guy's takedown. And then he re-gripped up under my butt, and he just picked me up like I was nothing. And in that moment, I was like, oh, crap. This is about to go south. Because you seen what he did to the first guy. The first guy he fought, he went in there, took him down, finished him super quick, and I don't know, I couldn't be that guy, you know. When he got me in that choke, I was like, there's no way I'm tapping. I was fully prepared to go to sleep, but I felt his grip kind of release a little bit, and I was like, there's the window, let's go.
Yes, because in the first moment of the fight, I think that fans can see this, that he will choke you out, and you were able to go to the feet and just brutally knock him out, and it was like one of the best story of second part of that year.
Yeah, man, I was watching his Instagram leading up to the fight, and he seemed like he was working, but whenever we got back to the feet, I hit him with a knee to the body and I separated. And when I separated, I looked at him, I was like, oh, you're breathing hard. Like, you're tired. So from there, that's whenever I was just like, let's just stand up and throw him. And he tried to get some, if you watch his first fight.
Yes.
So if you watch his first fight, he got double unders and he gets that body lock and he just takes him down. He kept fishing for, we anticipated he was going to do the body lock. So every time he went to shoot for double unders, I was just swim moving, just over and over, and then I would peel off and I would make space. And I think that was the biggest thing with that fight is I didn't let him get his hands on me. Once we got back to the feet the first time, it kind of messed with his head. And when you're in a fight and you have a game plan or you're really good at something and it doesn't work out, your mind automatically panics. And from there, it's like, how good are you wherever this fight's fixing to go? If it's not where you want it to be, like, how good are you there? So I think when we got back to the feet and he couldn't get those double unders and get to his body lock that he loves to do, he just started panicking and started praying that he could land a big shot. But his stand up, I watched him hit mitts beforehand. He was throwing these right here. And I'm just not going to have that. Like, I know I was looked at as a scrub coming into the fight by Bellator. They definitely brought me in to lose. I meant to mention that earlier. You had brought up that they brought me in to lose. We knew from the get-go, like, hey, we're being brought in to get our butt whooped. Like, that's the whole purpose of us being here. And, man, I wasn't going to have it going out in the first round. Because, we looked at the video of the first guy he fought, and we didn't, like, talk crap about the guy. We just kind of like that choke was deep, but he just tapped as soon as he locked his hands. He didn't really even put a squeeze on. I think that guy was there to get money. And, I fought for Bellator, but I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to do this for the long run. I'm not trying to do this for one fight and go on. Like, I'm trying to make it the UFC, tell the world my story about everything I've been through in life and just make something for myself.
Yes, his first opponent was, I believe, 0-3, so he was actually brought to lose. But you were experienced both as the amateur and you have wins as a professional. So you are definitely on the different level than the first guy.
Yeah, and I don't know if, I guess Pat didn't realize I'm a brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So I've been doing Jiu-Jitsu for a long time. I guess he did a podcast and he said he picked me because the vanilla gorilla. He said that shows this guy's got some kind of charisma. I guess he didn't look any further than that, which was terrible on his part.
Yes, it ended really terribly for him. And was it one fight deal with the Bellator?
Yeah, so I'm not sure. Do you keep up with Bellator pretty good?
Yes.
Do you know who Ben Parrish is? Big Tuna?
Yes. He fought on the weekend.
Yeah.
Last weekend.
Yeah. Ben's one of my good friends. He actually helped me prepare for the fight. We was training together. But he, I didn't know it till I talked to him. But I offered, honestly, I took lower numbers than I probably could have got. And I only took a one fight deal because I didn't have a manager. I was doing all my stuff by myself. Me and my coach were just trying to sort it out. Now I know differently, though. Next time a big promotion comes at me, I want at least 3 fights. But, yeah, it was just a one fight deal. I didn't really try to bargain for anything more than that because I was just so excited. Like, I'm almost there.
Yes, and Ben Parrish was also in the similar situation, right? He defeated undefeated prospect, and he was in a little bit similar situation like you.
Yeah. He was, he was behind me the whole time. He was like, man, screw those guys. Like, they did the same thing to me. You're going to go in there and you're going to beat his ass. And I was like, let's go, baby. Well, man, he was. That's why after the fight, I got on the camera and I was like, I love you, Big Tuna. Man, he kept my spirits up the whole fight camp. He was messaging me on Instagram all the time.
And let's talk about your beginnings. What was your first discipline that you train?
First discipline I trained was I did boxing for a long time. My father was a Golden Glove boxer for a while. He was a very, very good boxer. Then he started working on trucks. He works on 18-wheelers. And when he started doing that, he didn't lose the love for it. He still did it on the side, but it wasn't something he was hustling after. It was more of a side thing that he just loves to do. So he got me started in boxing at a young age. And then I started doing jiu-jitsu. I would say jiu-jitsu is my main, like my best art. But I mean, I started out with boxing. That was my original. And it's a good thing. It's kind of a bad thing because in boxing, you form bad habits for MMA. But like, you know, if you throw your jab and you change levels and you come over to the side, you could eat a head kick like Kamaru Usman did with Leon Edwards, you know. So boxing I love boxing, but like for MMA purposes, it can create some bad habits that I'm still trying to shake to this day. Me and my coach work on it almost every day. I've almost got them all going, but there's definitely still some of those old boxers tricks in me.
And what is your favorite part of the training right now?
Right now, man, just making my striking better. That's my favorite part. I mean, it's made leaps and bounds, but I still got a few things to work. Mainly footwork, I would say, is probably my biggest issue. But like, that's kind of I'm the type of person that like whenever somebody like points something out to me, I think about it all the time. Like I'll go home, lay in bed, and I'm thinking about it. I'm like, man, I've got to fix that. I've got to fix that. Like if I want to do this, if I want to make it to the highest level, I have to fix that. So yeah, I'd say right now stand up. That's my main focus is just have my stand up. Whenever I do meet someone that is a K1 kickboxer like Big Tuna Fall or someone that's a high level striker, when I get in there, I'm not uncomfortable. You know, they don't tag me and I'm not like, oh no, I can't stay here with this guy. I got to go to the ground. You know, I want every fighter out there to look at me when they go to fight me and be like, we don't want to stand with him. We don't want to go to the ground with him. And he can take us down whenever he wants. Like, we don't want this fight, you know? That's my end goal is to just have all around game that's top tier.
And when I checked your record, I saw that you fought Trajan Gore, who is currently fighting in the UFC. And overall, you have not many fights, but you are quite experienced because you fought Gore, you fought Downey, you fought Swanson, who also fought both for the PFL and the Bellator. So I think that you are right now in good point as far as experience.
Yeah, I would, man, all three of those fights that you just named were my biggest lessons. And looking back, you know, I want to say that probably wasn't a good idea to fight. You know, Trajan Gore, when I fought him, it was my first pro fight. And this smaller promoter, he said, hey, man, I got this guy named Trajan Gore. I can't find a fight for him. He's 3-0. I know it's your first pro fight, or 2 or 3-0. I think he might have been 2-0. But he was like, he's 2-0. So I've got this tough guy thing inside the ego that's like, we'll fight whoever, you know. So that was before I used to work with some other coaches, but back then it was just kind of me running my own gig. You know, like I pick and chose what I did. Now I have a coach that when I receive an offer, and I have a manager now, but before it was like I had a coach that I run it by him. He said yes or no. My other coach said yes or no, and then I've said yes or no, and then we just kind of come together on the thing. But now I have a manager, so he's kind of running everything for me, and it's great to have it like that. He just sends me a text, says, you have mail. I go to my email, sign a contract, and I know he's doing it right.
And what would be the perfect scenario for you right now? You win this fight on April, and what next? 2-3 more wins and going straight to the UFC?
Yeah, so I'd like to pursue LFA after this one, honestly. You know, I know they have a lot of good guys there. There's a guy that I've had my own for a while. His name's Dylan Buka. He's I don't know if you know who he is, but he's close to the UFC. You know, he's on Facebook and his social media, and he's barking Dana White, come get me. You know, like send me a contract. And I know I'll see him eventually in my career, but yeah, I'd say LFA. If he's not out of the UFC, or if he's not out of LFA into the UFC by then I'd like to try to get that title, get a straight shot to the UFC. And
Yes,
honestly, a contender series wouldn't be bad. You know, if let's say I keep hitting these regional promotions and then I go to the contender series, I would not be upset with any type of way that I get in there. Preferably not the Ultimate Fighter, but you know, I would.
yes, and LFA it's very very good step because the guys that fight there are really often go to the UFC, the champions, the contenders. So LFA is like the best regional promotion in the US.
I agree. That's kind of why they're my main focus. I've always noticed that the champs typically at LFA go to the UFC. So that's I know if I can get in there and win that title, then I could get my shot straight to the UFC, not have to do any contender series or any kind of extra stuff.
And do you plan to stay in the middleweight division, or do you plan in the future go to 205?
Probably not two. So I fought at 205 for a while. That's actually where I lost to Trayshawn at 205. He went up a weight class to fight it. But man, honestly, I'm a big muscular kind of guy. Like I'm thick in the chest and stuff. But those 205ers, they get about 6'3", 6'4", and they're stacked. So I'd really like to. I've been talking to my nutritionist about possibly trying out 170. Just do like a test run, and then maybe do the weight cut to 170 and then do a jiu-jitsu competition or something to where I'm not going to take damage or have a loss on my professional career. Just to see how I feel. And if I feel okay at 170, then pursue that. But really 185 it's comfortable. I'm strong. I can deal with these guys that are 6'3", because at 185, when they're 6'3", they're still strong, but they're not like freakishly like insanely strong. You know, I mean, I'd say 170. If there is a weight class change, I'd say 170.
Okay, so it would be the fourth weight class for you because you started in the heavyweight division. You won an amateur title. Yes.
Yeah. Those are some bad days. I was terribly out of shape back then. But yeah,
yes,
I did.
but
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
yes, but it's all. I think that it's also a really interesting experience to be a little bit heavier. You won the title, so some good things came from this.
Yeah, back then I was. There was no technical side to my game. Back then I was just touch up and let's swing. But that's kind of the heavyweight motto, you know. That's what they do. They touch up and they just who's going to sleep first.
And what would be the like dream matchup for you if you could like name any welterweight or middleweight that you would like to fight?
My dream fight?
Yes.
Honestly, man, I'd have to say probably Colby Covington.
You don't like him?
No, honestly, I like Colby. Like, I like the way that he. I mean, he's genuinely a good guy. And then the UFC was about to cut him. He put on this act, and now he has this persona that he puts on. And a lot of people in the MMA community know that it's just something he's putting on to get ticket sales. But I mean, he's just a super smart guy. His fights are crazy good. Every one of his fights, he throws such high volume of punches that it's just hard for anybody to deal with. I think that's why he does so good. But he's just a really good fighter, and I know that he's like a big ticket seller. I think one day that would be an awesome fight.
Yes, and he's very close to fight for the title once again, and because of this persona, this wrestling persona.
Yeah, for sure. It's a smart move by him. Very smart move.
Yes, his grudge match with Masvidal or these two fights with Usman was really interesting, close, and with Masvidal he dominated him. So he's like number 3 welterweight in the world right now.
Yeah. He's calling for Leon, but Leon's trying to say he ain't gonna get the title shot. But Dana confirmed Saturday, I believe, that was the next step.
Yes, and Dana is like repeated it few times, so it's probably next fight in the welterweight division.
Oh yeah.
And outside of fighting, what do you like to do in your free time?
Man, honestly, at this point, I know that I'm on the borderline about to like jump into the next bracket of fighters. I know that like I'm right there on that line of like I'm about to start meeting K1 fighters. I'm about to start meeting college wrestlers that did really good. I'm about to start meeting these guys. So my life consists of almost nothing but something. Like if I leave the gym, I go home, I shower, I might meal prep my food, and then I'm going to hit the treadmill, and I'll do like a incline walk for about an hour, sometimes 45 minutes, just to help me shed weight off and stay in shape. Because the lighter I feel like I move a lot better. So I try to, when I come out of camp, I try not to go over 210 pounds. I try to let that be like my limit. Sometimes I go a little over, holiday season or something, I might go a little over, but other than that, it's just everything I do is I train. So I train an hour that way. I live right in the middle of the gym. So like I live right here. The gym's right here. It's 45 minutes this way, 45 minutes this way. And I'm just constantly going back and forth. So most of my free time spent driving to go train or at the gym.
And back to the MMA, what would be like the main goal in your career? To be in the UFC, to be in the rankings, fight for the belt, being a champion?
This is like my goal. My goal, I would have to say, my goal is to be a champion. But as far as like my dream is just like, if I made it to the rankings, I think that would be super, super, super awesome. I mean, if let's say I made it to the rankings and I snapped my femur in half, and I could never fight again, I wouldn't be on my deathbed like, dang, I wish I would have, I mean, the dream is to be one of the best guys in the world. And if I have the capability to be the best guy in the world, I'm going to pursue that with everything I have.
And how do you deal with the stress before the fight? Even in your last fight with Pat Downey.
So me and my coach were actually talking about this the other day. I've noticed that when I have fights with guys that are okay, like guys that have a decent record, not that great, I get super nervous. And when I'm in the back, like dealing with those nerves, I'm just like, man, the last time I fought for B2, I looked at my coach and I was like, what if I forget how to fight when I get in there? Like, just the nerves go crazy. So really, I just gotta, moments like that, I just gotta hone everything in and just like sit by myself, have music in my ears, and just like remind myself how hard I train, how much work I put in. Like, I know that I'm ready, but I just don't want to underperform. A lot of people, they think that like fighters get scared because like the opponent or whatever, but it has nothing to do with that for me. It has to do with strictly, I don't want to underperform. I want to perform the way that I know I can. And it's just a fear of not doing that. But I'd say, yeah, just, man, so I don't really listen to rock music, but before a fight, I don't mind throwing on some rock music, getting in my head, telling myself how good I'm about to do. And then once I get on the pads, from there, the nerves shift a little. And then they don't really hit hard again until I'm in the cage and they're starting to announce my name. I kind of have this moment. If you watch all my fights, I have this moment where I kind of bounce against the cage, and like once I come back, I just know that there's no way out of this. As a fighter, I'm not sure if you ever heard this, but all fighters have agreed with me. They do this, but like in your head, when you're in the cage and they're announcing your name, you're like, and there's no way out of this one. Like, I can't fake an ACL tear, like break my ankle or something. You can't do none of that. It's here. So you kind of got to have that fight or flight mode. And either you take advantage of the moment or you go in there and you just fall flat. And I have had my moments where I went in there and I went a little crazy because the fight or flight mode kicked in and I just let everything go in the first minute or two. And when I did that, man, I just fell flat and the guys ended up beating me. And those are my only losses, really. That's something else that Bellator didn't realize. My only losses are because of me. I would be doing super, super good in the fight. Well, I say that Derek Overstreet, he beat me pretty bad. But Trayshawn, Billy Swanson, I was putting up a great fight. It was a good fight all the way until my cardio died out. And then it was all them. I kind of gave up on myself at that moment.
Yes, it was one of your amateur fights that you dominated in the first round. You were close to finish your opponent, and in the second round, it was a little bit like early stoppage, but in the first round you looked perfect, and then something happened.
Yeah, so the fight you're talking about, I fought Brian or Connor something. It's the guy that fought Bo Nickel actually. In Bo Nickel's first fight, I believe. But when I fought that guy, we was both heavyweights, terribly out of shape. And I actually had the flu, type A flu, getting ready for that fight. And the first round, I didn't want to pull out on a promoter. It was a local promotion, and like I was like the main event, the poster guy. So I didn't want to pull out. And I went in there first round. I was like, okay, I'm doing okay. I feel a little bit of liquid, or not liquid, but like stuff in my lungs. But I think I'm gonna be able to make it through this. And I got out there the second round, and he hit me with this little short knee to the body, and I was already so exhausted from trying to take him down that whenever he did, I kind of like fell over, and he just come down on top. And I was thinking to myself in that moment, like you said, it was an early stoppage. I was thinking to myself in the moment, let's let him punch himself out. He's a big boy. He's going to get tired too. So I covered up, and when I covered up, he landed like 3 shots, and they called it. But I mean, if you look at the fight, he didn't land any of them to the face. I was covered here, and he was hitting me on the wrist.
Yes,
But I
yes.
just it was amateur career, so I kind of let it go. Like, it is what it is. I shouldn't have been out of shape, but that'll never happen again. That's for sure. After all those lessons with Trayshawn, I was like, I got to get in shape.
And amateur career is good because you can take some losses, get some experience, and I think that many promoters is looking just the professional record. So the amateur scene is good just to like proving ground.
Yeah, do you know who Chris Lytle is?
Yes, yes.
So I was talking to Chris Lytle one time at a B2 show, and he was telling me, he was like, I'm sure he was just trying to make me feel good, but he told me that, if Dana White or Sean Shelby or one of these guys looks at your career and they see that you faced adversity, and then all of a sudden you go on the streak of like, 10 wins or whatever, that shows them like, hey, this guy learned his lesson here, figured out what he needs to do, and now he's on track. So I'm kind of looking at it from that standpoint. I'm on a 3-fight win streak right now, and I'm going to take this win streak as long as I can. And I don't see myself losing, honestly, until I get to the UFC.
For me, the perfect example of this is GSP, because he lost to Matsera, he lost to Matthews, and he defeated them, Matthews, even 2 times. But he took these lessons, he went back to the gym and won in rematches. So I think that losses are sometimes a good thing.
Yeah, I would say my losses, as much as I hate having 2 losses on my record, I learned a lot from those fights. And it honestly led me to where I am today. I'm at 10th Planet Decatur with Brandon McCaffrey and some Matt Elkins, some really good coach. Matt Scaff's my strength and conditioning coach. Like, everything's just coming together. As my career goes on, from those losses, I decided to switch to another team. And when I came over here, I've just met all the right people since I've been here. I've got a great strength and conditioning coach. I've got a nutritionist that does really good. She follows along with everything. She checks on me every day. She's even helped me cook meals here lately. I got a good striking coach now. I've got a very good jiu-jitsu coach. So everything's got a coach for it or someone running it, and they're like making sure that I'm firing on all cylinders. Like everything's great right now. And I do believe it strived from my losses. If I wouldn't have lost those fights, I probably would have never left where I was and came and found these great people.
And I believe that we can see your improvement on the Saturday when you will be fighting for the B2 fighting.
Oh, you most definitely will. I plan on putting on a very good show on the feet this Saturday.
Okay, so Christian, good luck in your fight. I hope that you will win this fight, and you will take few more in this year, and we can see you in next year in the UFC.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And you most definitely will see me in the UFC by the end of next year for sure. I don't want to rush anything, but obviously it's kind of like I can see my dream and like I just want to reach for it, but I'm trying to take it slow. make my way there. By the time I get there, I want to be ready, and I want to let the world know who I am. And I really appreciate you having me on for this interview, man. It's super awesome.